To this now, human rights lawyers are gearing up for another legal showdown as they filed another historic action against coal mining companies. Let's get more details now on this and speak to George Kahn from Richard Spoor Attorneys. Thank you so much, George, for your time. Let's start with the importance of bringing this court action now, especially when one takes a step back in history. We think about the historic silicosis class action. Let's talk about this.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening to your listeners and your viewers. Yes, I mean, this is a very important next step in terms of the litigation that has been ongoing against the gold mines. In fact, that was actually the second step. The first step was against the asbestos mines. What we are now doing, and on the encouragement of the Catholic Church, is to also now include the coal mine workers so that they receive the similar types of benefits of what the silicosis mine workers received in terms of the gold mines.
So how many companies are we talking about here that you've brought this action against?
So we have essentially indicated that we're going to bring 4 group class actions. So we've identified 4 company groups, being South 32, which was last month. This month we've just recently launched against Anglo American, which is perhaps one of the larger ones. Then next month we'll be dealing with Exaro, and in December we're hoping to finish off with Glencore.
And one, of course, wonders how many mine workers are we talking about here, given the fact that they could be possibly in the thousands?
That's exactly right. And I mean, it comes down to the very nature of a class action. We don't necessarily know how many plaintiffs there might be in the end. We are, in fact, learning essentially to a certain extent with the silicosis class action how many members there are there. That trust that was set up as a result of that settlement in that matter has already paid out in excess of R1 billion.
And I was going, pardon me, George. I was actually going to go there because I'm sure someone is watching tonight and they're wondering what are the details, how do I get in touch, and can I, if maybe I've had a family member who's worked at the mines, I've got all the details and all of that. So let's talk about how the viewers who could potentially be affected by this can then get involved and maybe get in touch with yourselves.
Absolutely. So we do have set up now on social media sections sort of a running coal mining class action social media things that have been set up. There is a website that is also running as well. Obviously, people are more than welcome to contact us on our website, telephonic details and whatnot. We've already had an enormous amount of people coming forward to us through emails and so forth. What I must just make sure that we are very clear, though, in terms of this respect, is what we are now looking at is specifically the coal mine workers. So those people that are dealing with the golden issues, we are still busy with them, but what we're particularly looking at here are those that were made sick as a result of coal mining dust.
And is there a time limit? Then maybe one would wonder as to say, if I worked at the mines or somebody worked at the mines between this year and that year, or are you looking at everything retrospectively?
So what we have done in terms of the class period that we are considering, it's the same class period as what we had in silicosis, and that goes down to the manner in which we are going to show the evidence of wrongfulness from the mines, and that is from the March 1965 regulations that were gazetted, that for the first time actually indicated that there would be certain maximum dust levels that were permitted in the mines. So any date or mine worker who's worked within a period from 1965 essentially right up until currently would be a member of the class, provided that they have one or more of the diseases that we are talking about that are caused by coal mine dust.
And you know, you think about when we talk about these particular stories, you think asbestos, you're thinking silicosis. There are serious health impacts here, and bringing such a class action is quite important, particularly when it comes to the issue of compensation, because some of the families would have lost loved ones who have never been compensated.
Indeed. And one of the things that we are also trying to do is those families that have lost loved ones, we are trying to ensure that their general damages or their pain and suffering that would have been afforded to the surviving mine worker, that those damages can at least be transferred to the surviving members of the family so that they are able to benefit from that as well. Normally those benefits would die essentially with the worker, and we're trying to make sure that we can get those benefits to the widows.
And George, I'm not sure if you have it with you in hand, but if you're able to share with us, for example, the social media platforms or even maybe a website that people can be able to, reach you in.
Certainly. Let me just check the website. I'm always terrible at these sorts of things.
It's okay. We completely understand. We completely understand.
Sure. I'm struggling a bit with that one. So I think the hashtag that you're looking for on the LinkedIn well, I'm not sure if it's a hashtag, beg your pardon, I'm not at Twitter. But it is Coal Class Action on LinkedIn that I can see it is. So I think the hashtag there is hashtag Coal Class Action, and then obviously also hashtag RSR.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to find the website for you as well.
I think if you're not finding it, it's fine. We can maybe talk about it off camera, and then we can be able to give it to the viewers a little later on. But really, as you talk about this and saying that it starts from 1965, and I wonder then, is there a date that this matter has been set down in court now that you filed the papers, or you're still waiting for the companies themselves who have been served to file their own papers?
Well, yes. No, well, let me just first explain in terms of the process. I think this is maybe what most people don't understand with class certification papers, is that essentially the class certification is only the first step, and it's a requirement in terms of our courts in order to ensure that the court is essentially given permission and its blessing to run this as a class, as opposed to a single plaintiff situation where you might have one or multiple plaintiffs that are known. So what we first are requiring on asking of the court is to give us permission in order to issue the summons which will eventually come, which will eventually culminate in a trial. What we are going to be doing is, now that we've filed our founding papers, we are waiting for the other companies to indicate whether they, one, are going to oppose the matter, and in many cases, such as Anglo-American, we're hoping that they're not going to oppose on the basis that they have published their much favoured Anglo-social way policy, which indicates that they are promising everybody to take responsibility for the harm that they have committed. But if they do file their notice opposition, they then have an opportunity to file their answering papers, followed by some replying papers from ourselves just to clarify those things. And at that stage, the matter will then become ready, once the advocates have had sort of their submissions on it, for a court to then look at the issue and answer the question that we're asking: is this appropriate as a class? We are very confident of the fact that it is a class, and we're very confident the court will agree with us in that respect, since obviously in the past the court has already previously said in respect to gold and silicosis that indeed it is a class action.
All right, George, let's see then what happens if you're able to get that certification, and what process then unfollows from that. And as they say, from 1965 specifically, this action relates to coal mining companies, so mine workers who worked in that particular space. Let me thank you for your time, George. Do appreciate it. That was George Kahn from Richard Spoor Attorneys.